Welcome to the Donnie Simpson Show. Special guest today. First time I met this brother, man, I just remember thinking how cool he was. That was 20 years ago, and he's only gotten cooler. He calls himself the Love King. Please welcome Raheem DeVaughn. Hey, brother. How you doing, man?
What's happening, John?
You got it, man. How you doing, man?
Blessed.
Yes, sir. You look good, man.
Thank you. You look well as well. And what a pleasure it is to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, please. Thank you for coming, Raheem.
Yeah.
I didn't get to have you on the Video Soul set.
I know. You know. I don't know. I don't know if it makes you feel older when I say that I grew up, you know, watching, you know, and just wow, it all comes full circle to be here with you.
Yeah.
Didn't know what I'd be doing then as a young man. You know?
Yeah, right. No, well, that does not make me feel old.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that.
Yeah.
Not at all. My knees make me feel old.
There it is.
No, but you know, I mean, I run into so many young artists that were watching back then.
Yeah.
But you know, we shut down before they got a chance to sit on the couch.
Yeah.
But we got the couch back now.
Yeah, we got the couch back, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, if there's certain people in life when they call, you just say, where do you need me to be, and what time, and you are definitely one of those people for me in my life, in my lifetime.
Well, thank you, Raheem.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate that, man. Yeah. Well, see, I said in the intro, you're a cool brother. Always been cool.
Oh, thank you.
And so when we first met, I mean, that was the beginning of your career.
Yeah.
Well, you're on 20 years now, right?
Yeah. I sit back and I wonder like where the time went. You know, thinking about the accomplishments. You know, I like to think I'm one of the artists that, you know, there's a saying, don't drink your own Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Because once you drink the Kool-Aid, then it just goes berserk.
Yeah.
And I've just always been a workhorse. So I feel like, you know, even after 20 years, like I feel like I'm still scratching the surface of like the creativity and, you know, as it relates to being in the studio and being on that stage, you know?
Yeah. So how many albums do you have under your belt now?
Whew, technically 9.
Wow.
You know, if you include the mixtapes and the pre-release, you know, the early group albums, the Crossroads, and with West Felton and the Urban Ave 31, those were my earlier projects that, you know, the DMV and DC area got familiar with me with, and then the whole mixtape, you know, having over 30 mixtapes, you know, done. You know, in terms of promotion, to push the hand of the label to put me out at the time, you know, being signed back in 2002. Yeah, it's a lot of music out there, a lot of features, a lot of different things.
Yeah. So now, when I first became aware of you was, Guess Who Loves You More?
Guess Who Loves You More?
And that was 2005.
You broke that record here in DC on the air at the time.
Yeah. Right. I remember, man. That was a big deal, you know.
Yeah, it was a super big deal.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, it was just awesome because, you know, you're local, man. And I always felt like, you know, well, I came up in radio.
Yeah.
You know, when local acts got play.
Yeah.
And I never stopped believing in that.
Yeah.
That you should always support your local acts.
Yeah.
You know, you support everything, but you should support them too. So that was a big deal for me.
Absolutely.
To be able to help you make that happen.
Absolutely.
You know?
And then I had a cheat code, you know, me knowing the research, knowing that you're a huge Earth, Wind & Fire, you know, fan. I figured, you know, I said, you know, when the night we made, I said we're gonna sample this just so we know when we sample this, Donnie is gonna play it, right?
Oh, is that right? So you were scheming in the studio. You had me in mind.
Yeah. My man Bootsy Vegas put the bug. Our man, he put the bug in my ear.
Well, I am now definitely a big Earth, Wind & Fire fan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a music fan, and that's the way I view you. You seem to be just a music fan, like all genres. You just love music.
Yeah, I grew up listening to a lot of different things, and even now, you know, I'll go listen to a different genre for no reason, just to, you know, I think, you know, I'm one of those people that you know, you look at the glass, whether it's either half full or half empty. I prefer it to be half full, and you know, I think that the world is still a beautiful place.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the culture that we are part of, as it relates to soul and R&B music, of course, makes it a beautiful place. But I think that, you know, imagine a world without music. You know, imagine a world without R&B, soul music, country music, classical music, hip hop, all these different, you know, genres that that create a special memory, a connection. You know, a first dance, a first kiss, a prom date, the loss of a parent. Like, you know, music is you know, all roads lead back to music for me a lot of times. You know.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more. You know, and sometimes, like when you're going through stuff, man, it's like music, no matter what it is, it's always like you can find something.
Yeah.
And you even look for answers in music.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you started about life is how beautiful life is, and as soon as you said that, I'm thinking about Earth, Wind, and Fire, and all about love.
Yeah.
You know, with that passage when Maurice says, you know, you got to love all the beautiful things around you, the birds and the trees, and if there ain't no beauty, you got to make some
you got to
beauty.
make it. You know,
mercy.
you got to make it. It's you know, it's a manifestation is real. You know, the power of words and how we express our emotions and what we speak on our life. I just feel like that's just such a real thing. So, you know, we have to recognize our magic and being able to speak affirmations on ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that has been, it's one of the reasons why I've been, you know, very choiceful and picky, and the thought process of what I write about and what I talk about, and you know, how I talk about women on a record, or how I refer to them on the records, and just all the things, because, you know, we have, you know, it can be, the gift can be the gift or the curse, you know, and it's all about what we use it for, you know. I've always wanted to make sure that that, you know, when it comes to the lyrics, you know, you talk about records like Woman, that I produced with, you know, which was produced by the late great Chucky Thompson, who was also a Washingtonian. And you know, and doing that record at that time, which was my first #1, you know, I had pressure on me from the label where I'll never forget, I had a conversation, who's still a good friend of mine to this day. He was my A&R at the time, a new A&R at the time at Jive Records, Jeff Finster, and we were just meeting, and I came in arrogantly thinking that I had the second album done. I'm ready, the album's done, and then he started to pick apart, you know, the love experience and the nostalgia of it, and saying like, man, you're not done. Like, where's your you? You know what I mean? And a lot of times, like, you know, record companies, they have, and even sometimes the fan, they say, well, hey, I want another love experience, and they don't understand, as the artist, to recreate that greatness, you can't do that. But I think that what Jeff was ultimately saying to me that day is to say that, hey, you have a great gift, and one, consistency is the key. That's the key ingredient that is going to keep you around as an artist. So, so where's the consistency in terms of the messaging? Where's that one record that speaks to, you know, all women from all walks of life, like you know, that was on the first album? Where's that on the second album? And I left the label fired up and came back to DC, and we created probably Woman within the next probably 72 hours later. You know, that record was was birthed, you know, and it went on to be a #1 record, and, you know, and Aretha Franklin's favorite song.
Really?
Yeah, so and that's an example of just, like, you know, stepping outside of yourself and challenging yourself. So, you know, I always, you know, thank Jeff for that moment. And you know, we've talked since then, and what he explained to me was, he said, well, you know, thank you too for being able to be humble in a space where I could tell you as an artist that hey, yo, it's okay to challenge yourself. It's okay to be great. It's okay to dissect and pick it apart, and, you know, sometimes you have to pull yourself apart, you know, put it in, and then
put it back together.
Put it back together. Yeah.
A Woman's such a strong woman song. It's rare to find men that can write like that can write a song that's so powerful for women. You know, you don't see that every day.
Yeah. I think, well, the channeling for me, you know, I think about, you know, my mother, you know, who's now 80 years old. Hey, Mom, love you, Mom. She's gonna get a kick. She's gonna get a kick out of this. You know.
You know,
I think about, her struggles as a single parent, being in a single parent household. Although my father, who's now deceased, although he wasn't in our household, he was in my life, consistently as much as he could be, being a musician, and always on the road and traveling and living in another state as well. And, I always say that, my mother and my grandmother, two of the strongest women that I've ever known, that exemplified the strength, courage, all the things, any emotion that that a woman possesses, down to, that love that a mother has for their son, that connection of the mother and the son, but also being, like I said, being in a single parent household, having to be the breadwinner and the earner, So when I did the record, I spoke from a space of that, I spoke from a space of, being a parent and being a man that has, sons with multiple women, who allow me to be Raheem DeVaughn. You know what I mean? And seeing their strength and still being able to co-parent and all the things that happen. So I wrote it from that. When I wrote the record, I wrote it from the space of, the love that you can have, for your partner, or for the woman that you co-parent with.
Yeah.
The love that you have for your mother, your grandmother, the love that and how they've poured into you.
Yeah.
The school teachers that that were the aunties and or the neighborhood moms.
Yeah.
For me, the neighborhood mom in my neighborhood is. She's Miss Pat. She's gonna be surprised at that. But she was like the neighborhood mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That her house was a safe space, and she was the neighborhood mom. For the community. And even now, I'm sure that we have the neighborhood moms in the different corridors of southeast, uptown.
Yeah, man.
Not to be misconstrued as the cool parent. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the voice of reason and the village amongst the community,
Right.
And again, these were just inspirations for the record,
Yeah. My mom was the same kind of woman as Miss Pat.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just lost her like almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
But you should have seen how many people came to her service.
Yeah.
And at 93 years old,
Yeah.
that was proof of that she was, and all of them were just talking about like she was my grandma. She was, she was like the neighborhood's grandma.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. So your mother, what bit of advice is most memorable from her that she gave you?
Oh man, well, some of the things. Be careful who you take your drinks from.
I love that.
Yeah. On a serious note, just being I think being mindful, being cognizant. You know what I mean? Just the conversations about how drugs and other elements of the game have destroyed some of our greats, that we've lost. And I know, you being the Renaissance man that you are, and a time machine of history. We've lost a lot of greats. Unfortunately to drugs and substance abuse and just the different things, and just but above and beyond all of that, just having a mother, a grandmother who's been gone for over 20 years now too, as well, who were praying women. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Ain't
sir.
nothing like a praying mother.
Amen.
I can't, at many a time, even now, like, every time I leave that door, to have my mother pray on me or pray for me is like, it's nothing like there's nothing like a praying woman.
No question.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
No question. I used to call my mom to ask, just pray for me.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
She was so special, man. And one other thing I'm going to share with you real quick.
Yeah, yes,
and
sir.
I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that I used to call my mom and say, Mom, I just need to hear it. And she knew what I wanted. And she would say, baby, God loves you, and I do too. I'm good.
And that's the beauty of it. I think that, as someone who's lost a parent, it'll be 3 years in August, that I lost my dad, who, you know, in my adult life, we became very extremely close. You know, I would talk to my dad, you know, two, three times a day.
Wow.
You know, at one point I became his caregiver, and since he's, you know, since transition, I've been become a spokesperson for mental health. You know, for most of my adult life, my dad suffered from schizophrenia.
Oh, really?
He was a child prodigy cellist.
Wow.
You know, classically trained, world-renowned, taught many people. You know, I have his students that still hit me online or pull up on me at shows and say with his records and just all the cool things. You know, under the artist name of Abdul Wadud. But yeah, like I often say, you know, when they're gone, you know, those are the things that we cherish the most. At the end, I wasn't a person that liked to take a lot of pictures early in my career, but now I understand the concept of pictures and videos and just and all the things, because, you know, when we transition, things we're left with are the most important things are the memories, the pictures, you know, the photos. You know, and the thought, you know, the thoughts and the memories of times well spent. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, those California fires that we witnessed recently.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always what you hear people talk about.
Yeah.
You know, forget all these things that they have in their house. What are they? Pictures. They just wish they had the photos.
Yeah, the pictures, the photos, and the memories. You know.
Yeah.
You know, the tangible, the material things we can't take with us. You know. Yeah. You know.
But I used not like to take a lot of pictures either. I got too deep for myself, right? I was like, this moment just exists for this moment. It doesn't. You can't capture. Like I remember being in Australia. I was like, you can't capture, or in Africa, you can't capture the smell of the dirt. In a picture. So I was just like, you just got too deep for yourself, man. Just take the picture.
Just take the picture.
And you know, I have changed because, like you, I've come to understand that. These pictures mean so much as I get older.
And
these pictures mean so much.
Because, you know, I you know, hopefully not anytime soon, but our time, you know, I say it often, you know, the most valuable thing we have is time, and from the time we're born, we're running out of time, right?
That's right.
So sometimes we can selfishly internalize our thoughts, or I'm not going to take the picture, not knowing that picture might be the heart healer one day for our children, or you know, to generate the next generation, grandchildren, you know, and that type of thing. We have to leave our mark on history. You know?
So with your father's sickness, were you aware of that as a child, or did it come into focus
that
later?
Was something that I found out, you know, was kind of kept from me, you know. I guess they felt like, you know, protecting it from me, you know, you know, and as I became an adult, you know, once I became an adult, I really didn't get a grip on how serious, you know, his illness was as it related to mental health. You know, I was, you know, now Raheem DeVaughn that the world knew, and you know, remembering having to, I want to say maybe like 07, 08 is when I really got to understand, a really understanding of what was going on, you know, his diagnosis, and started to go down the road in the journey of understanding like what mental health is, and how you know prevalent it is for a lot of people who you know, have challenges as it relates to whether it's schizophrenia or being extreme bipolar, or just, you know, mental health as a whole, you know, and it, you know, it then became a passion for me. I like to always think that someone who's been compassionate as it relates to people who are homeless and displaced, but now going down the rabbit hole of being someone who advocates, you know, through my foundation, you know, for mental health, understanding that the person that you might see on the street that is displaced, you know, when you commit that random act of kindness, you don't know what their mental health is or what their diagnosis is. You know, that maybe they were never diagnosed. Maybe you know, they never had an opportunity to have access to the medication. Or just all the things. So it just makes me definitely has made me more gentle and more thoughtful and mindful of people and their emotions, you know, because people are carrying a lot and dealing with a lot, especially you know, you know, the turn of events and where we are in the country now, and you know,
No
politics
doubt.
and just all the things, you know, and you know, one of the things I constantly, you know, tell myself and my peers, my immediate circle, and just people in general, when we're closing out on the concert, you know, remember that God is love, and don't crash out on yourself, and don't crash out on anybody else. You know, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow, God is love. I actually have that on my license plate.
Yeah.
Not on the license plate frame.
Yeah.
God is love. And even I do it in Italian on my golf bag.
Yeah,
I got to
yeah.
tell you this though. I tried to do it once in Italian. I had Dio e amare.
Yeah.
But it said, I spelled it wrong. It should say amore.
Yeah.
So it was, God is the sea. It's basically what I was saying.
You're riding around.
Yeah, so this is really cool, man. God is love. No, what's God is the sea? What does that mean?
How did you find out? How did you?
Someone I knew that spoke Italian.
spoke
Said,
Italian.
no, that's not God is love. That's not at all. You know, I've been studying Italian. And,
God is the big wave.
Yeah, man. So your father, what piece of advice did he give you that you remember most? That was most valuable?
Probably the greatest advice that my father gave me. He said, "Never sell your soul, because when you sell it, you can't get it back." And there's many ways to do it, you know. And I received that as, you know, just basically saying that, you know, don't compromise your moral compass. You know what I mean? Your spirituality, you know, the things, you know, your values. You know, I took it at, you know, just hold on to your values. You know, that always spoke volumes to me. You know, I took it as a translation to, you know, to do it your way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've always, you know, even in this business, I've you know, he also, I would say, instilled in me to be, you know, be as independent as you can. You know, ownership is everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ownership of the product, ownership of the brand.
Absolutely.
You know, protect the brand. You know, protect. You know, and you know, at the end of the day, your value comes from your name and your reputation, and your word being your bond. You know, I think those are that's the most valuable line of credit that you can have. You know, so you know, those are things that, you know, both my mother and my dad, you know, even if they didn't verbalize it to me, you know, in their actions and how they moved and accountability, you know, I saw it from, you know, just seeing it in them, you know?
Yeah. This question may seem obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Were they both proud of you, and are you proud of them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just the thought of it now too, you know, during my mixtape season, I would do things like, you know, I'd call my dad out the blue or call my mom and, hey mom, I'm recording you right now. I'm in the studio. What you want to tell the people? You know, one of the things that my dad that resonates, you know, where he said, you know, make yourself proud. You know, I think a lot of times we're so focused on you know, pleasing others, or you know, the career path in life, or, you know, would this be disappointing to my mom or my dad? You know, I think one of the toughest times for me and them trying to understand, you know, this man who had a dream and had a vision was when I dropped out of, you know, college. I attended Copper State College for 3 years, and I dropped out. Like, you know, I was redshirted at the time and had a scholarship in track and field, you know, as a distance runner.
Oh, really?
But I had this love and this passion and this burning desire that was just calling me, which was music. And you know, stepping out on faith doesn't mean that you always know the path, or that anybody around you understands the path. You know.
Yeah. Well, it means that you don't know the path.
That is
faith.
Yeah, it's faith. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. The greatest faith is, you know, is moving in you know, in a direction of something that you can't see.
Right.
You can't touch it. You can't feel it, but you know it exists.
You know it's there.
It's like God. You know.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, it's just like the vast universe that, you know, that exists out there, right? So yeah, I mean, so I'm certain that my dad, you know, transitioned leaving this earth, you know, being proud of me, being proud of, having one sibling, my sister, and, and just being proud of his family, and I know my mom's proud,
Yeah.
like, as well,
Yeah. Well, I know she's proud. She used to call me on the radio station.
There it is. One thing mom gonna do is let the world know.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah, absolutely.
No question. So how many kids do you have?
Oh man, total of 5 sons.
Oh, all boys, no girls.
All boys.
5 boys.
Yeah.
Well, you are the love king.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it ranging from what age to what age?
My oldest is 18. They range in age. My oldest, 19 now. He had his 19th birthday. He's in the Air Force.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited for him. Stationed in California and doing extremely well. They range in age, and man, they're doing. It's amazing to see your kids and just the extension of you.
Yeah.
Right. You see, you're able to identify certain traits, in you and your partner. You see your grandparents and your kids. You see your parents and your kids. Just all the different things. So, fatherhood has been great. It's definitely challenging. Me being the workaholic and all the things, but to be able to put them in a position to have a better life than what I had is always not the end goal, but the long-term goal.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But you've had a good life. I mean.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. I mean, the last 20 years. I shouldn't say that because I don't want to make an assumption like before the record career hit, that it was, not good for you. I don't want to make that assumption.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, from an outsider looking at this, just like, wow, what a career you've had over the last 20 years, man. This has been a great life.
Yeah, I think I'm really just starting to process it.
Yeah.
I think in the last 24, 72 months or so, COVID for me was I think it was like a spiritual awakening moment. That time to just like really be still.
Yeah.
Right. Connect with self, reevaluate, educate myself on new things. And I feel like I didn't really become a master of my craft till like 2020, 2021.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like maybe it was the spiritual light bulb that went off that hey, you have your 10,000 hours in there, like the 10,000 hour effect as it relates to recording in the studio, as it relates to performing on stage, and once that light bulb went off and I really started to like lock in on what I wanted to see happen, and understanding the process of that too. The process of prayer, and manifesting what you want to happen, and then working towards the goal. Life started to unlock for me in a different way. I think it's also the maturity of just like I had OGs that always told me like once you get in the 40s would be the best time of your life. And now that I'm approaching the 50s, I can say that the 40s has been incredible. And I'm looking forward to hopefully the 50s and the 60s and the 70s being even
80s, 90s,
the 80s
all
and 90s,
good,
all
right.
it's just and understanding the process of working smarter, not harder. Because it's nothing being coined as the hardest working man, and that's cool, but hard work requires rest, and you got to rest, and you have to reboot and reset, and like what does that process look like? You know what I mean? And so that's something that after my dad passed, I started doing therapy, for the first time in my life, and one of the major homework assignments that I was given was like self-love and self-care. You know what I mean? And which you know, as I started to go down that rabbit hole, you realize the importance of that, you know. For you know, whereas your self-care may be, it may be golfing. You know what I mean? Word on the street is that's you know what I mean. That's you know, for me.
No doubt.
Yeah, for me, you know, for me, I you know, it's a spa membership and like really like a wellness in that space. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you know, so you know, finding something to do for yourself. And the challenge was like, all right, Raheem, I know you can go in the studio and be in there and that's self-love, but technically you're still working when you're doing that, you know? Right. So, you know, I mean, that would be the equivalent of like you playing golf and, hey, this is Donnie and I'm live on the air. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like you have
that's a thought.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, it is. Golf radio.
Man, I love that.
Yeah.
If only we could stop it from getting dark once the sun goes down.
Yeah, right.
And I can play 24/7, baby.
and if you need some talent, you know, there it is.
Yeah.
Here it is, you know.
Wow. So you've started doing radio recently.
Yeah. You were actually one of the first people I text.
Yeah.
And thank you for the kind words and you know and the motivation, you know, as the new, you know, radio voice and personality of 96.3 WHUR, the original Quiet Storm.
Yeah, man.
Man, it's just like, you know, it's every day it's like you know, it's I have no concept of time, so it's like a movie in real time.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just enjoying every bit of it, learning, you know, to now have a peek behind the veil and, you know, see how that process works and understand the value and how important it is, you know, and why radio still exists.
Yeah.
And the fact that to be able to be approached by, you know, by my listeners as part of the community.
Yeah.
I know you understand what I'm saying, you know, that like, yeah, it's you know, you don't do radio for the money. You don't do it. There's a, you know, you do it for the right reasons. Of course, all those things will come, right? But it's a connection to the community in a different way.
Yeah.
That I didn't understand. And I remember going to the MGM. This is after being on the air for, say, about 30 to 45 days. And I went to go see, I think it was like Fantasia was performing at the MGM. And everybody that stopped me did not stop me as Raheem DeVaughn, the recording artist, or you know, the Grammy Award-winning Raheem DeVaughn, or any of that, right? The DJ. The conversation was the DJ, like I'm one of your listeners.
Yeah.
The staff was excited. That's, you know, the ushers and you know, shout out to everybody down at the MGM, you know, down in National Harbor. Yeah, it was different. And you know, I just got off of the Capital City Jazz Festival cruise, the you know, 17th annual cruise. Same thing. You know, shout out to Lenny Green. He challenged me to a Quiet Storm battle, which I might add that I won by one song. You know, and that was his way of welcoming me in. You know, hazing, and you know, and that's my OG. Just always supported me, and we continue to find ways to support each other. You know, cool, and you know, and do some DC to you know, New York trips and stuff of that nature, but. Like, yeah, it's a you know, I ran into Russ Parr on the cruise. He said, how you like doing nights? So it's just a different conversation. You know, it's been a great journey. I'm still a young pup in it. Yeah. And you know, definitely looking to my OGs like you and Lenny and Russ and you know, to just stay fresh and humble. And enjoying the process, you know what I mean. And then for it to be at HUR, I couldn't think of a better place to be, you know, than that. You know, this is something I prayed for and have been wanting to do for like 20 years.
Yeah, I got you.
But they say that when you pray for it, you got to be specific. And I wasn't specific, right? So when I got the call, you know, that it was actually happening. I said, man, God has a sense of humor.
Yeah, oh, no question.
Out of all things, you would, you know, like for it to be, for it to be the quiet storm, you know, on HUR, you know.
HUR with this history, you know, Howard University Radio.
Yeah, the Mecca, yeah.
This is the Quiet Storm, of course, became a format all around the country and around the world.
Yeah.
But it started.
Which you were heavily, you know, heavily involved in.
Well, not really. No.
And with Deborah,
because that was Melvin Lindsey.
Yeah, Melvin Lindsey and
I was
Kathy Hughes. They say was the original curator of, well, came up with the idea
with the title.
With the title, and gave it to Melvin, and
Melvin ran with it.
Yeah, he ran with it, developed it.
I mean, and that thing was so powerful. So, my relationship to the Quiet Storm is this. My radio station, I was program director of KISS.
Yeah.
We competed against it.
Nah, I remember, yeah.
And you couldn't beat it.
Yeah. Wow.
You couldn't beat it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, back in the day, man, the Quiet Storm at night, you didn't even need a radio. Just open the window.
Yeah.
That's what you were going to hear.
Yeah.
And so I eventually hired
Melvin.
But we couldn't bring the Quiet Storm title. We called it Melvin's Melodies when he came over. But just real quickly, I want to say this, that for me, when I went into the Radio Hall of Fame in 2020, which, I mean, just an amazing moment, right? You know, as an athlete, you know, you've always seen that on TV, where, you know, you get that call. Yeah. It's like, wow.
It's like your Hollywood star. And I saw you in
mind-blowing for me.
I ran into you in the airport when you were on the flight.
Right. I remember that.
Yep.
But as big as a moment as that was for me, the next year I was on the nominating committee for the Radio Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I was able to get Melvin Lindsey in to the Radio Hall of Fame for the Quiet.
Yeah.
So that was 1,000 times bigger to me than my induction.
Yeah.
It really was. It meant so much more to me to get him in.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I just love that dude, man. He was really, really something special and created something special.
Yeah, I think the highlight for me was the text that I received from his nephew Kyle Murdoch, who is a good musical friend of mine. You know, he's original producer for the Crossroads album with myself and Wes Felton.
Oh, really?
And and it was the text that I got from him on behalf of the family, and just saying, hey man, you sounding good, you got the blessing from the family, everybody's excited, and nobody, you know, who better than you? And you know, because, you know, it's a different hat, you know, a total night and day from being Raheem DeVaughn the artist or Raheem DeVaughn the actor, you know? Yeah. And you know, anything that I do outside of the brand for what people know me for, first and foremost, you know, I want to be taken seriously and want to have longevity in the game and, you know, on this new career path, you know?
Well, you will, because you're humble.
Thank you.
You're a nice brother, man. I have no doubt.
Thank you.
I had to tell you this. I have this poster. Back in the day when I brought Melvin over to my radio station, we had these posters that were on the side of buses and all that stuff. And it was Donnie and Melvin together at last or something like that. Yeah. But I have a miniature version of that. Miniature is that big. Yeah. You can imagine what they were like on the side of a bus. But I had that on the studio at home where I did my radio show from. And every day, man, the last thing I did when I finished the show was just touch Melvin. Oh, Thank you, brother. And I'm gone. Yeah. Man. Just touch his face, man. Yeah. He's just that special to me.
Yeah, the stories I hear about him, just incredible.
Yeah. So you never met him?
No.
He was gone.
If I did, I would. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. I don't think I ever had the opportunity to meet him.
And for those watching us today, Melvin died. God, I guess it had to be 25 years ago. Yeah. From AIDS. Yeah. And but just a legendary broadcaster.
Yeah. I mean, I remember many a night just listening and just like thinking to myself, like, man, this is the coolest dude on the planet.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And you know, one of the things that stands out, you know, I remember the night that he announced that Marvin Gaye died. Can't remember what movie we went to go see, but myself and my mother had this red Fiat. And we were living in Silver Spring. Not too far from Blair High School, and she had the red Fiat. It was a rainy night, evening, and we just left the movies, and it just being very somber, and him announcing the fact that Marvin Gaye passed, and how badly he wished this was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, so did
But
I heard
yeah,
it
man, it was I remember hearing the announcement just being like crushed. You know, being a huge Marvin fan, and even at that age, he had a huge influence on me.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, out of all the artists, is Marvin the most influential on you?
It would be neck and neck, Marvin and Prince. And if you really chime in on the sound and just kind of like, you know, or it's a fusion of a few things. If I was to say, you know, in terms of influences musically, but definitely like neck and neck. You know, Prince, Roger Nelson, Marvin, the lead singer for the Spinners.
Yeah. Well, it was G.C. Cameron at one point.
What's my brother, the original? But he's a finisher on the records.
Felipe. Felipe.
Felipe. Ooh, that's my man right there.
He was a beast.
Yeah.
The king of ad lib.
Yeah, man.
He would write a song in the
fade.
fade.
In the fade. Yeah.
In the fade, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love you.
To me, Felipe was the king of finishers. So I as somebody who like studies sound and critique and listen to records, and you know, we pull from different spaces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Creatively but you know, we find our own identity in there too. So to emulate it too much wouldn't be necessarily my thing, but definitely, like, you know, you hear the Marvin influence in there, you know, the style, the dress, you know, all the men back then were well dressed, you know, even when they took risk in the looks, you know what I mean, but just still very and very well dressed, you know.
Yeah. I got to tell you this, Felipe Wynn came to, this is going back 30, 40 years ago, I guess. He came to over my mother's house. We had a family reunion, and he came by. You know, I invited him over, and he came by. No, it's my house. Yeah, it's my house. So this is way back in Detroit. And he said, at one point, he says to me, well, at least you're consistent. You don't play my records on the radio, and you don't play them at home either.
Oh.
And he was serious. I mean, it was. And this is when he first left the Spinners and became a solo artist. But you know,
you got to understand the politics.
He didn't have any hits as
a solo artist.
He just didn't. You know, and I love Felipe.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, man. It was just, you know, I mean, it cut, but it was funny. Classic, man. Felipe was a beast. And when first time I heard him, well, you will appreciate this moment too, with Funkadelic.
Yeah, because he was. Because
I'm going, that's Felipe.
Yeah.
What is he doing with Funkadelic?
Yeah, he did spend a lot of time with Parliament. Yeah.
Right. You just wouldn't expect that from the red suits to all of a sudden hanging out with George Clinton. It was just a different thing, man.
And he did it to the end, man. He died on stage. Yeah, he had a heart attack on stage.
On
you know,
stage,
so
man.
I mean, they say if you're gonna go out doing what you love. Talk about doing what you love. I mean, that's like a wow. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Definitely one of my, you know, those would be my top three. You know, and then there's I'm heavily influenced by hip hop as well.
Yeah.
And the hip hop culture, you know, the timing of it, you know, the art of storytelling, you know. There's an influence. There's the edge, you know. And sonically the beats, you know what I mean? You know, and I think that's where, you know, coming from singing over, you know, samples and loops, you know, is where, you know, how I've been able to incorporate that. I think that's definitely like the hip hop, the love for hip hop in me, you know. Bulletproof, which was one of my well-known socially conscious songs, you know, which was a Curtis Mayfield sample, you know what I mean? So even when I did that record, you know, when we looped it, you know, so some people say when you loop a record, you kind of opening up a portal, you know, but I felt like there's no other type of messaging I could have put over that record than something that of substance, you know, that you know speaks, you know, to our people, for our people, you know, and to the world, you know. Which there was a lot going on in the world then. And, you know, you listen to a record like Bulletproof or Nobody Wins a War or Revelations 2010 that features Damian Marley from my third album, The Love and War Masterpiece, and you'll find that, you know, I think that's where the Marvin comparisons come from too.
Yeah.
Just being brave, you know, and being able to talk to the world, and be able to express myself, and for activism. You know what I mean? I refer to myself as a lot of times people say, "Hey man, you're a great entertainer," and I correct them. I said, "Man, I'm an edutainer."
Edutainer.
You know what I mean? Because you know, I think that our music and our gift, you know, it's a thin line where you don't want to come off, you know, as the poor righteous teacher, or where it feels corny, or you know, too judgmental. But you know, I think that you know, when you think about the nostalgia of the Marvin Gaye "What's Going On" album, right? And just how it's so relevant and to right now, you know, and to yesterday. And it makes you wonder, you know, what will times be like, you know, 20, 30 years from now, or when we're not here anymore, and our kids are, you know, here, you know. You know, we have a responsibility as an artist, you know, and you know, everybody may not be up for the responsibility, but you know, when it happens, when it flows and it feels good and it comes out organically, because it doesn't come from me, it comes through me. You know what I mean? Like lyrically speaking, you know, I'm gonna do it. You know, I'm gonna do it.
Love it, man. Well, keep doing it, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show today. You know, because I was thinking coming in, I said, God, you know, I've known Raheem for like 20 years. But I don't really know him. It's kind of a mystery to me. Now I do.
And I've been and you know, and I'm more, as I get older, and you know, as times change, and with social media, and just like, you know, I'm definitely coming out of my shell, doing radio as well. You know, I just know with me, nothing speaks like the music. You know what I'm saying? It's always, you know, a lot of, you know, we're in a time now of like different antics and social media and just all the things which can be distractions from the actual art form of what it is we do. You know what I mean? And I'm here on this couch because of the legacy and the culture of what I've studied, I've appreciated, and what I've hoped I've created thus far and continue to try to create. You know what I mean? Everything else is just a branch. You know, it's a branch and extension, you know, of that. Whether I'm doing radio or acting or just, you know, podcasting, whatever it is, you know, it's just, I always remind myself, hey, you know, and that's why all roads kind of like after a long day, I'll end up at the studio. I might end up there tonight and be there. A lot of times, Donnie, I don't even know what's gonna come out, you know, but I'll be in there 2-3 hours, leave 2, 3, 4, 6 in the morning sometimes, and be like, this was a good decision. I could have been a lot of places right now, but this is where, you know, nothing moves for me without the music, you know.
I love that, man. You're an artist.
Thank you.
Artist, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, brother. Much respect.
We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Right on.
All right. Raheem DeVaughn, our guest today here on the Donnie Simpson Show. Thank you again, man, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
World to have you on this couch.
Yep.
All right, my brother. All right, we'll see you next time right here on the Donnie Simpson Show. God bless you. Peace.